Hello, and welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and high tides the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson. My website is alexrobinson.fun.
And I'm Riley Silverman. I'm in a secret room on your Death Star.
Mm-hmm. The door just opened.
So.
I've been waiting for you to show up. I'm your evil clone. I've sharpened my teeth for you.
Well, thanks for coming back to sharpen your teeth on minute 80 of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Minute 80 starts with a huge wave approaching, and it ends with Kylo Ren walking out of the ocean mist. I almost wrote ocean spray, and then I was like, we're out of ocean spray.
It's shades of Darth Vader appearing in the ship in Rogue One, where you see the lights, you see the lightsaber first, and then you.
I was with you until you said Rogue One. But yeah, no, I thought it definitely evokes Darth Vader showing up a couple of times, like when we first see him on the TV4. Yeah,
and then in the mist, yeah.
Bespin, when the carbon freezing thing happens and the smoke clears and you see his face. It's a classic move by Darth Vader coming out of the smoke like that.
Yeah. Doesn't the Hoth base also have steam going around when it comes to
it could be, yeah. It's melting.
Yeah.
Because R2 needs to turn the heater up. But
get a bit of a Kylo moment like that on Rise of the Resistance too, where he drops down and the lightsaber is like in the haven't been.
So we were in the green room, and Riley said she wanted to follow up on a conversation we had yesterday about Kylo Ren's motivation in this fight.
Yeah, I think that I got really in the weeds about Palpatine's motivations for trying to get Luke by driving his rage or whatever. But I think I mentioned this the other day too. We were talking about when they first meet in the throne room area. I really think Kylo's motivations here are not just, I want to make her angry so she'll follow me. I think he wants to convince her that she's just like him. And I think he does that by proving to her that her rage makes her more powerful. So it's not so much like, okay, now that you're angry, now you're dark side. I think it's him saying, like, see, don't you see how much more powerful you are when you just let go and own this part of who you are? And it's 100% not even really about her. I think it's about him. But I think he's projecting so much onto her because he sees himself in her. And he knows they're connected to this dyad in the Force. And he knows that, like, if the two of them team up, like, it can, like, feed their power. And he's struggling so much with himself and who he is. And he's so weak in this moment mentally, but he's, like, there. And I think he feels like this is my last chance to prove to her that we're the same and get her on my side. Like,
yeah.
So, but he's not trying to kill her. This is strictly a defensive.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to kill her.
He wants to just hold her off. He doesn't want to attack her. He's just basically trying to deflect her.
I think he thinks. I think it's very much like there might be an element of, like, this is a wild pull. It might be an element of, like, Judge Frollo in Hunchback of Notre Dame, where it's like she'll be mine or she'll burn. Like, that might be part of it. But I really don't think that's his motivation. I'm not a Kylo Ren shipper, so I don't really have a lot of, like, oh, there's lust involved here in my read of it. I think there might be a little bit, but my read of it is that, like, he doesn't want to kill her because if he kills her, then he proves that he's worse than she is. Like, that's kind of like a thing, and that's why I think it's fascinating that she kills him in this scene. Like, I think it's like the other way, but then her reaction to that is to be completely just destroyed by it. But, like, I think that that's. He does not want to kill her because he's already killed his own father, and he already knows that he doesn't want to feel guilty for it, but he absolutely does, and that's why it's so resonant that his father then appears once he's, like, finally crossed that threshold. But I think this is a scene where Kylo is in so much pain, and he thinks the only way he can feel better is to prove that he's fine and that he's right, and that somebody else will see in him what he thinks is right, or like the right path. I don't mean right like good, right like this is what I should be doing. And
right.
And so his motivation here is not I'm just going to make her so angry she'll follow me. His motivation is like, I need to prove that I'm not broken, that I'm right, I'm powerful, I'm strong, and she's just like me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I will support that a little bit, partially with some of what's in Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker Expanded Edition by Ray Carson. Because she says, he says, Kylo Ren pops out. They're during the duel, a scene that we don't really see. I hinted at this the other day, but while they're pushing each other with force energy and clashing sabers, he sent the thought directly into her mind, I know you. And no one does, she shot back. But I do, he says. And that's she screamed and launched herself at him again. So it's that kind of a thing where she's like, no, we're the same. Like he's trying to convince her of that, like you said, for his own kind of benediction of being like, yeah, so right, we're the same. You're like, I'm not crazy here, right? This is I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and you are too. You're the same as me. So we're doing this, right?
He should have quoted Obi-Wan and said, like, you must see that we're part of a symbiont circle.
Right,
you know, or some callback to that early.
But then all the Jedi are within Rey, so Obi-Wan, like in the back, we'd hear like Force Ghost Obi-Wan in the back of her head being like, that was me, that was my line. I said that. Yeah.
Totes me. Hello there.
Just as a quick sidebar, hopefully. Riley, you seem to know a lot about Jedi. We got into a big discussion last week.
That's a nice thing anyone's ever said to me. Thank you.
And I mean that from my heart. What are the rules with levitating? Could a Jedi sit on a garbage can lid and levitate herself and then fly around on the garbage can lid? Or could she just levitate herself and fly around without the garbage can? Just lift yourself up.
Right.
I mean, it really depends on what
we see them doing big jumps.
We're kind of hung up on the garbage can lid, but it's a minor part of the equation here.
Yeah. I don't think Jedi can full on fly with the Force. So I think levitating only works because it's like a lot of like maintaining concentration and like it's more like controlling your own fall. Like I know that in the High Republic, there's like a Jedi, like one of the lessons that one of the like Padawan is learning from his master is like jumping out of a ship and like basically skydiving without a parachute, and it's definitely not like, we think this
master
flying.
Wants to get rid of their Padawan. And they're like, all right, next lesson is jumping out of a moving train or something. Right?
Yeah,
I lose more Padawans that way.
Yeah. Hey Padawan, this is my next test. Put this fork in this electric socket and see how that works out for you.
If you're truly one with the Force, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think, but it's like a leap of faith kind of vibe of like you have to be able to trust in the Force to be able to catch you. And I think like when she's levitating, it's very much that like she's using the Force to lift herself. I don't know if a Jedi would be able to fully concentrate enough to like full on fly with the Force, but I guess it depends on what video game.
Fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let alone fly and have like they couldn't both levitate and then fight with lightsabers in the air.
Yeah.
Because that would require too much concentration. All right.
Yeah, I think Jedi Force movement is more jumping. Like it's like adding momentum to your jump than it is like full on flight. But I would not be shocked if at some point in some Star Wars media we get a scene where we're trying to show just how powerful a Jedi is, and they're flying in like Magneto and doing like a full on like Force aerial battle. That would not shock me. And the thing is, every Star Wars thing seems to add new powers you can do with the Force, and it just seems to be like, I mean, we don't want to keep doing the same shots over and over again, so we're gonna do something different. Sorry, get over it. Like,
Do you think if one Jedi could levitate, like concentrate and levitate, like Luke, just kind of like, and then another Jedi could come along and kind of like push him with the Force, like a curling stone, and just kind of like, do you think he could get him?
Yeah, there's actually a really popular game. There's a very popular Jedi broomball vibe.
Well, that's totally, they play that in Jedi Academy. It's like frat boys, kind of, they're all just like, you meditate, and we're all just going to push you and see if we can knock over the things. And whoever loses has to drink.
Informal, exactly.
Informal Jedi University.
Informal Jedi Academy human bowling. Yeah.
They must get into all sorts of mischief there. They should eventually they're going to do a Jedi Academy like Harry Potter type thing where we're going to see a bunch of Jedis hanging out. Maybe that's what the skeleton.
That is currently a show. That is currently there is currently the Young Jedi Adventures, which is an animated series on Disney+.
Oh yeah, which I've seen all of or most of. They're not they're a little too young to get into. They don't do
Yeah.
drinking games or anything like that. But it's
Yeah.
I haven't watched them because they seem very targeted towards young audiences, even though I know it's set during High Republic, which I love, but
Yeah.
oh yeah. I get my timing confused. I'm like, is that High Republic? Like Yoda's there. Yoda's always there though? He's like,
yeah, Yoda's in the High Republic books as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, Yoda's in the books, but then he disappears for a while and he comes back at some point. But yeah,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Yoda is.
I do.
High Republic is only supposed to be about 200 or 300. It's like I think the earliest age of High Republic that's been in the books is like 500 years before the prequels, and that's like the second phase. And so Yoda would be like middle age at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Do we see any other old? Do we see like any other old characters like Maz Kanata?
Yeah,
or,
Maz is a pretty big character in one of the comics.
okay.
There's like a whole like
she's all
pirate.
young and
There's like a young
her face
Jedi.
is all smooth.
No, she looks exactly the same. But yeah, there's
In the
a,
High Republic stuff, not in Young
yeah.
Jedi Adventures.
Yeah, High Republic stuff. Yeah, in High Republic stuff, there's like there's a Padawan that's like stationed on the planet where her castle is, who keeps like sneaking out of the temple to go hang out and gamble at the castle, and then she gets involved in a whole pirate scheme, and it's awesome. It's very cute.
Pirate schemes.
Nice.
But yeah, you were just speaking about Jedi Jump. We get that a couple of times in here, and I gotta say, I like it much better here than I did in Phantom Menace or what have you. Like, where it looks like it's a kind of like you said, kind of a natural extension of your momentum.
Yeah.
Versus like, I sped up the film, and now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what's
like
the meme about Mandalorian where it feels like they just throw the Baby Yoda puppet and just like film it being thrown in the air? Like they just like
Right. It's like like a Muppet.
yeah.
It is funny because it's Superman, of course, originally could not fly. He could just jump really high, and that's almost like what this is. They're almost like turning it, and eventually it's just going to turn into just outright flight. Eventually.
Right.
So
Yeah. He could, even part of his speech is leap tall buildings in a single bound, and then suddenly it became flight at one point. Yeah.
It's like, well, he leaped the tallest building.
Yeah.
Does Janna understand what's going on, and is she like, oh my god, that's Kylo Ren, my old boss?
I bet. Yeah.
Oh, does she recognize him without the mask? Probably, because
Oh, that's a good question.
He has the lightsaber.
Has she seen a lightsaber?
yeah.
I feel like.
But does he use it? Does he use it among the regular people?
Yes, there's literally a
probably
scene in the
does.
movie where he's smashing a control panel up with his lights. I think.
Right.
I think Kylo Ren.
We've got two shirts of that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't think anyone. I think everyone who works for the first order, all the first order rank personnel. I think everyone knows who Kylo Ren is, and they steer clear of him because he also got scenes in Force Awakens when we meet Finn of him showing up and attacking that village, and sure enough, he's got that
Takes
lightsaber.
out the lightsaber.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Another High
every
Republic
opportunity
connection.
he can.
That's Lars Santeca, and the Santecas
Oh,
are
yeah.
in the High Republic as like lights, like hyperspace prospectors. They're like the famous rich family.
Like,
Who's Lars Santeca again? Is that the Kanji Club guy?
No,
No,
he's
that's,
the like Church
Leah
of the Force
Keen's the
guy.
planetologist.
Yeah, he's the guy that like Kylo kills in the very beginning. Who's like, to me, she's
Yeah,
right,
Max von Sydow
what's his name?
character.
Yeah, Max von Sydow.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember. I'm
never
like,
So who is the what is the name of the Kanji Club guy again?
ooh,
I call
wait,
him
the Kanji Club guy
so-
or
The guy who says tell it to Kanji Club.
Oh, right.
Anyway,
Balatik.
let us know.
Balatik is with Kanji. No, Balatik is the guy with the Guavian Death Gang, right? Yeah,
You're
Balatik.
asking the wrong guy.
Balatik.
Balatik. All right.
Yeah.
No Balatik.
He never came back.
I'm
He
as
didn't
much
get
as I
eaten by
randomly
a-
know things from High Republic, I'm also, as evidenced multiple times in these conversations this week, I'm not great at trivia sometimes. Even when I know the answer, when I'm on the spot, I don't know the answer. I'm the terrible. Even as someone who knows a ridiculous amount of Star Wars, enough to put them in books, I forgot that Padme was queen in the very first movie, and I called her a senator earlier in this conversation.
Well, she does. She has
yeah.
scenes in the Senate, so she is a Senate
Yeah.
representative. And, it's just
Yeah.
not a senator.
I randomly pull facts that aren't always true. I'm like a human ChatGPT sometimes. Like, I know the actual answer, I just don't always say the actual answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is Balatik. I had to confirm that.
Okay.
But he's not. I can't remember the names of the guys in Kanji Club though. Oh, Tasu Leech. There you go. Politique is the other guy. Tasu Leech, nice to see you. There you go. All right, everybody who's correcting my stuff. None of us get everything right. That's the point we're making here.
It's easier sitting and listening to a podcast to pull information than when you're actually doing it and you're on the spot. I will say that's why game shows are a challenge, because it's easier to watch a game show at home than it is to be on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone at home, remember that when next time you want to leave a mean comment.
Calm down.
Like, I can't remember. He forgot Tasu Leech.
Yeah.
Hey, but I had another question, and which was answered. My theory was shot down by the novelization, but I want to see what you guys think. Do you feel that Rey was kind of calling the wave at all, or was she influencing the tides here, or is she just she saw it and then jumped around it?
I think that the level of volatility between the two of them might be subconsciously helping. Does the novelization say it's not happening?
It's just they're fighting, and then she looks up and notices the wave, and I was like, oh, okay. So then she kind of takes advantage of that smoke screen, basically, jumps out of the way of it, but she's not causing it at all. Whereas I was like,
I still will read it as subconscious. I don't think maybe she's intending to cause the waves, but I think it's happening because of this fight to some degree.
I like the idea, though, that two people are fighting and two Force users fighting, and their energy is such that it is like wrecking everything around them, because they're basically sending out waves of Force energy.
Right.
And
and cut to the poor guy with like the seaside cocktail shack, and he's like, come on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Somewhere someone's like, you gotta make a new dagger now because these waves messed everything up.
Oh yeah. Well, the Sith, the Sith assayers. Is that what we were saying? Assayers? What are those people called? Come up and do that.
Yeah.
Surveyors. There you go. The Sith surveyors.
Yeah, assayers are the ones that come out for like claims on like and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think happens to the Sith dagger? Do they keep it? They put it in a museum?
Did she bring it? Maybe she put it back. She should have done like with the Wayfinder and the dagger. Should have done like an indie with the bag of sand kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe she had to use the dagger to open the door. There you go. That solves both of our problems. The dagger was the key to the door.
About it. Yeah.
Like Castle Grayskull. You stick a sword in there and boom, there it goes.
Yeah. That would have been a good.
Yeah.
You could have stabbed Dark Rey with it.
Oh. And it would have dissolved, and then she would have had a whole memory of anyway. I gotta say, I love the sounds in this. Not only like the whole sequence, really. I mentioned it earlier with the water dripping, but then it kind of keeps continuing. Like the way the waves roll through is great. All the different kind of water sounds, plus the lightsaber sounds as they hit each other, and it's a slightly different sound because there's that little kind of like almost like dry ice in a sink kind of thing, because the water is hitting the lightsabers as they go. There's so many good sounds going on in this scene. It's really neat.
Yeah, I hope I do Xanthi's show after this episode and do these same minutes, so I can just repeat what you were saying to Xanthi in there.
Exactly.
I am doing Xanthi's show next month, and I wonder what minutes I'll get.
Oh,
that's actually really funny.
We'll put the word out, see if they can get you. I do. I really like, and I love that the music kind of dies out too. Sorry, I know we're just talking about Star Wars Music Minute, but
no, it's fine.
It also involves, it's the whole sound thing, the milieu,
the whole
melange. What am I looking?
There's definitely conversations about ambient sound on that show as well.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And so I do like all the sounds going on, and how they let the music kind of die out for a little bit and let that be kind of the focus of it, and the rolling ocean waves is kind of like its own soundtrack.
Yeah. And it's a nice counter argument to what I said earlier, I think yesterday, about Duel of the Fates. I think Duel of the Fates is so music oriented, and it's like a music video, and then this is actually this is like primal. This is like fury of nature, kind of. These are two forces of nature that are fighting each other right now, versus just like an elegant structured battle. Because Duel of the Fates feels like a martial arts fight. That's it's so choreographed.
Yeah, it's very choreographed.
Yeah. This is two people who were just lashing out and backing away and stuff like that.
So if you were like internet style, what is that, AMV or something like that? If you're gonna lay a song in over this, What song? What song in your head? Pop song, or could be a classical number, whatever. If you want to put in some ragtime, I don't know, but what song do you think? What song would you lay over this sequence? Just think of the crashing waves, the duel coming out of the water, the whole thing.
Is there any answer besides yakety sax?
I hate.
You have to speed it up, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I know
and
that.
Then I have the Jedi Jump problem again. Though.
I'm gonna get hate for this, and I feel dirty saying it. But it might be an Imagine Dragons song. Like, it feels like that kind of or Muse. Like, it might be that kind of. I could see maybe what's that Muse song that never ends? Like Knights of Caldonia. Is that what it is? Where it's just like that might be it. Hate that song.
I know that Muse is a band, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I have heard a few Imagine Dragons songs because they're popular with the kids these days. My kids like Imagine Dragons.
I think the reason why Imagine Dragons is popping in my head is because Imagine Dragons have a song pack on Beat Saber, and I do Beat Saber as my way of getting cardio, and they're almost at the level of Nickelback where they're just like a punchline of a band, but I will say the best usage of Imagine Dragons is hitting things with lightsabers to the tune of Imagine Dragons. And I think that's why it's popping in my head as a thing in this scene. They have that song Enemy that is in the League of Legends, I think, or one of the things, and that's one of the songs that gets played a lot. And I probably named the wrong game. I'm sorry to the people who are mad at me for saying it, but I feel like that would possibly be one. And I'm trying to think of what I almost want to say Immigrant Song, but I feel like because it was used in almost the same scene in Thor Ragnarok, it feels like cheating to say Immigrant Song. But
that's a good, you got a rolling beat, and it kind of feels very, environmental. I get where you're going for there.
Yeah, I think this definitely would require, if you're going to add music to this, it has to be heavy and loud and have almost a choral. That's why Duel of the Fates has the Sanskrit screaming in it, because it just feels like it has to get higher and higher. And I think I guess a Queen song might work as well if you're going to go for that Highlander vibe. But yeah, this just feels loud.
You should do, if you're going to keep Led Zeppelin, you should do Ocean.
There you go. Yeah.
Get it? Because
this is the water. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, God, there is the Thunder by Imagine Dragons might work too. But
I read a thing. This is totally, here, it's Friday. We can take an aside. I read this thing about how some Imagine Dragons songs apparently came from. This is all there's no direct confirmation of any of this, but some of the songs were they were hired at some point to write the songs, to basically do demo songs that were gonna get turned into the songs from the Spider-Man musical.
Oh yeah, I think that is true. Yeah,
that they were hired to do that, and then whoever was the producer was just like, "Hey, those songs are just too good. They could just be pop songs. Let's not put them in this. Let's sidetrack. Let's just make this an album, and then we'll get some other people to come up with some songs." All right,
that makes sense, because it's My Chemical Romance. A lot of their albums are basically a long concept album for a potential musical about vampires. So I could see that being a pretty similar thing.
Yeah, well now, as I said, my kids like Imagine Dragons, so every song I hear, I'm like, is this about Spider-Man? Could be. So, and then I'm applying it to, everything else I hear on the radio. I'm like, is this about Spider-Man? I don't know.
Spider-Man?
Could be.
Spider-Man song? I mean, any song about Spider-Man if you believe in your heart enough.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I will say I've seen a great needle drop on the internet of later in the movie when Ben is arriving at Exegol and he's fighting the Knights of Ren, and it's to Holding Out for a Hero, and it's really good. It actually works extremely well.
There you go.
That makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah.
Wait, now I was thinking, We Need a Hero? What's that other?
We don't need another hero.
I need a hero. Yeah, where have all the good men gone and where?
Speaking of cardio, seems like a jazzercise kind of song. Yeah, there you go.
It's I mean, honestly, almost any I just blanked on his name, the composer who did all the Meatloaf songs and I'm Holding Out for Hero and
Steinman.
Yes, Jim Steinman. I feel like almost any Jim Steinman song would probably drop into this scene very well, and it would work fine. But
very bombastic.
Yeah.
Well, on that, since we're talking about Meatloaf, I think that means we ran out of material. But Riley, anything else you want us to look for? Anything you are sad you missed, or anything else? Just any last comments on the movie?
I mean, I'm like I said, I'm on board with this movie. I'm a Rise of Skywalker apologist. I'm so glad I got to come on and be a fan who loves this movie. I think a lot of the things this movie gets criticized for, I think, are unfair. I think there's things about it. I think it has a lot of pacing issues. I do think it feels like a rushed movie. I don't think those are problems that are unique to this movie in the Star Wars film universe, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But it feels like this movie gets more criticized for those things. I think there's like this. It feels like this thing the internet does where people decided this is what the movie was trying to do, and then all agree that it was, and now it's just guilty of that. Like, I think a lot of the things people say is this movie was trying to retcon The Last Jedi, and I don't think it was. I think that everything that happens in this movie, even things that aren't necessarily what you thought was going to happen because of Last Jedi, I do think do flow naturally from the story. And it's one of those things where I think a lot of times people criticize a movie and their criticism is really, oh, the thing I wrote in my head was not this, and now it didn't do this, and I'm mad about it. And I think sometimes those kind of like defying expectations can work. Other times they don't. But like a good example is when you get to the moment where Luke catches the lightsaber and he says that Jedi's weapon deserves more respect. I've seen a lot of people be mad. They think that they're criticizing the moment in Last Jedi where he throws it over his shoulder. And like, I think that he's come to a better place of understanding what he's doing than he was then, and that's why he says it. Like, he's not saying it like it sucked that movie did that. He's saying it like I was wrong, and like
saying it sucked that I did that because I was not like I was at my lowest essentially at that point.
Like Last Jedi is Luke realizing he was wrong and like standing up again, and so like yes, the version of him in this movie is going to be more healed than that and be a little bit more at peace because he's a Force ghost now. And like I will passionately, I think until my dying days, and I eat a lot of salt, so it might be any time now. I will defend Rey Palpatine as not being a retcon of Rey Nobody, and I know Rey Nobody means a lot to a lot of people. I understand, and I respect it. I respect that mattered to you, and you took a lot from that. I get it. The reason why Rey Palpatine means a lot to me is that I am somebody who transitioned and changed my name and changed who I was to the world. And a lot of where I came from was people assuming certain behaviors because of the identity I was given when I was born, right? And then I grew to understand that that wasn't who I was, and that my name and my identity didn't define me, and that I could choose my own path and be who I was. So I liked Rey Nobody. I also like Rey Palpatine, and I think I like them for the same reason. I think Rey Palpatine is just a heightening of Rey Nobody. I think Rey Palpatine is really saying it does not matter where you come from. What matters is what you do with what you have and where you're put. So if Rey Nobody is like, you don't matter at all, and then Rey Palpatine is, no, you come from the worst possible lineage you could come from, but you don't have to own that. Like, you can choose to be a better version of who you are. And that means, for me, as someone who had to unpack a lot of pain and a lot of identity politics and the way I was perceived by the world, to overcome that and be myself, it resonates deeply with me. And so I think that, like, because of that personal connection I have with it, I'm a little bit more passionate about this movie than I think a lot of people are. And I don't think that you have to necessarily have that experience to have that read on it, but I think that there was such an immediate pushback of like, oh, this isn't that thing, and so it's throwing away that thing. I think if you look at it from a different angle, I think it does support what Last Jedi was doing, and I think it does build from it. And I'm one of the rare people who absolutely adores both Last Jedi and this movie, and I don't think that they serve in conflict with each other. Would I have liked to have seen the movie where Ryan wrote and directed both Last Jedi and the Episode 9? Absolutely. But we didn't get that. So this is what we got, and I love it. And I think that there's a lot of really fun stuff happening, and I sobbed like a baby in the theater when Han Solo showed up. I am a total sucker. What's that?
So like a baby in the theater.
Yeah, everyone's favorite thing is a baby crying in a theater. And
on stage.
Yes, exactly. In Spider-Man.
Right.
And then when the fleet shows up it's such I know when I'm being manipulated sometimes, and sometimes I don't mind it. Sometimes I'm like, I know that they're playing with my heartstrings, and I'm into it anyway, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And that's one of those moments. So yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. My biggest criticism is I want more time with Rey and her lightsaber, and now I'm gonna get it, so I'm very excited about it. So I'm a total Rey stan. I won't deny it. I think there should have been more Rose Tico in this movie. I absolutely do. Do I think that pin? I guess that's my new portmanteau.
It's your ship name for them, yeah.
Poe and Finn.
Pin.
I do think that Poe and Finn got sidelined a lot, and I hate that about it. So I wish it was paced better to give these characters that I think deserved a better ending. Part of the problem is, I'm sorry, I'm just ranting now. I'm sorry. You gave me a runway.
The space is for.
Yeah. I do think part of the problem is that Ryan did such a good job of finishing both Poe and Finn's arcs in Last Jedi that I'm not sure that JJ and Chris knew what to do with them in this movie. And unfortunately, like, I think other writers would have found better things to do with them in this movie than they did. But that's my, like, so like those things I all agree with. I do think they did the best they could with working around Leia. If I made this movie, I probably would have just had Leia be dead at the beginning and had the movie open with her funeral like Black Panther did, which I remember when I said that at the time, everyone's like, that would never work. Everyone would be so sad. I'm like, well, Black Panther proved me right, because it did exactly that and it worked fine. So I would have had the movie begin with the Resistance mourning Leia and then like using that as like a rallying force, because I think that trying to make a performance that wasn't really part of this movie become like the crux of the movie was tough. But yeah, I had such joy seeing this movie in theaters. I saw it with my best friend that I had seen, like we had bonded in high school over Star Wars movies. We had seen the prequels together in theaters, and for me, it was very much the culmination of like a whole era of my life. And, you know, and I've been privileged that I then got to write about things from Star Wars and be published and have my name on a Star Wars book. And a lot of things from this movie, like the stuff with Rey on Tatooine, makes it into my book, because like the whole arc of Rey as someone who kept waiting for her family to come home to her on Jakku, but it was only by leaving Jakku that she actually like found her real family, her found family. And found family narratives mean a lot to me. Like, that's a lot there. So all the stuff with seeing Luke and Leia as like her family and identifying with them and making herself part of their family, because that's how she sees herself, is so beautiful to me. And so I wish that people who are just lined up to hate this movie would just rewatch it with completely open eyes again, and like erase all the like outside narratives about what it was trying to do, because there was that whole concept of this movie was written by Reddit or whatever, and I don't think that's true.
Yeah, neither do I. I think over time, when all we're outside of the zeitgeist, I think both Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker will just be kind of accepted on it. There'll be more people like us who like both of those movies a lot, and they'll both be more accepted. And
the Rey project might change people's perception of it when that when that comes out.
When it starts out with her waking up in at the end of Force Awakens after her battle with Kylo Ren and being like, "What happened?"
She finds her birth certificate and it says, you know,
like,
Mother
you are
Leia
Rey
Organa,
nobody.
Father Han Solo.
Yeah, it says Rey Kenobi. What?
Right.
Yeah, I also wonder if this movie will have the same effect that the prequels did. And like, I mean, this is a big thing for me doing your show, of when I was pretty critical of the prequels when I was on your show, but then listening to when I used to be in your Facebook group, and a lot of your listeners are people who grew up with the prequels as their Star Wars. Like, that's the Star Wars they started with. And I think that I'm wondering what will happen in like 5 or 6 or even 10 years when you have kids who grew up with Rey and Finn and Poe as like their first Star Wars heroes, and these as their Star Wars movies. Like, will we finally go like, oh, right, these movies weren't necessarily just for the people who grew up with the other 6 movies. These are for people who we're kids for these movies. Like, I hope that there is a generation that like never has that cynicism about these movies, that the same way that I love the sincere love that people 10 years younger than me and younger have for the prequels. I really hope these movies also get that with a generation as well.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I've come around a long way on the prequels and just in general, my feelings about Star Wars. And
yeah,
it's good. It's the in the long term, the Star Wars are the friends we made along the way, or whatever it is. But I thanks for sharing that with us. I appreciate your perspective on that, because it's interesting to hear what people took away from this, and it's it's definitely making people think and talk about Star Wars, which is good, because that's what we like to do.
That's why it's implied in our mandate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and yeah, thanks for being with us all this week, Riley. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and we will everybody check out Riley's books. I'm not going to get the exact names. I'm like the Tatooine one and the Life Day one and the Galaxy's Edge one.
Just look for my name on Goodreads or Amazon or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you it's Exploring Tatooine Illustrated Guide, it's Treasures of Batuu, Galaxy's Edge, and it's the Life Day pop-up book. So
right.
Life Day pop-up advent calendar. I will say the nice thing about the Life Day pop-up advent calendar is that it's reusable, because a lot of advent calendars you get like candies or toys, and then you've got them and they're done. The Life Day one is you actually get a Worcester tree, and then you get little ornaments every day, and they're paper ornaments on the little strings, and they all have like little, I read the book that describes them, but you can hang up the tree every day, and then you've got it, and then when you're done with either, Life Day season or Christmas season, whichever one you use the advent calendar for, you can pack it all up in the book, fold it up, put it on your shelf till next year, and then next year you can get it out again, unfold it, do it again. And if you're curious, I did do a series of TikToks. If you find me on TikTok, I did do a series where I opened the books every day and opened up each door and talked about them and writing them and stuff like that. So,
nice.
Cool.
Well, I mentioned it earlier. You know what? Besides, go buy Riley's books, read those. Buy stuff from us. Go to StarWarsMinute.com/merch. There you go. And look, see that thing behind Alex? That's a tapestry that's available at the not the monster, the tapestry there. Yeah, that's available from our store. Hey, the shirt that I'm wearing right now. Look at that. It's the Star Wars Minute logo shirt. That's available. StarWarsMinute.com/merch. All of our stuff. We got, you can get it on a bath mat or a skateboard or whatever you want. Go do that and put on some clothes, and we'll meet you back here on Monday for a brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.